Welcome to Wedding Studio, the podcast from You Had Me at I Do for wedding officiants who want stronger ceremonies, steadier business, and couples who feel truly cared for. Each episode, hosts Mike and Jen share practical tips, real workflows, and lessons from actual weddings, the kind of advice working pros can use right away. Wedding Studio is produced by the team behind Studio by You Had Me at I Do, the software built to run a modern wedding business. The advice comes first. And yes, the team hopes what you hear here makes you curious enough to explore the platform. When a tip connects to a tool, they'll say so. Learn more at youhadmeatido.app. Better weddings, better business, less chaos. Now, here's Mike and Jen.
Imagine sitting in row 5 of this beautifully decorated high-end ballroom.
Oh, I know the exact kind you mean.
Right, like the floral arrangements are stunning, the lighting is dialed in perfectly, the couple looks absolutely incredible, and the ceremony has been flowing with this, this really beautiful natural momentum.
Yes. Everyone is completely locked in.
Exactly. And then, without any warning at all, the officiant just takes a step back.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The microphone stand gives this hollow metallic squeak. The couple awkwardly shuffles over to the side, and they pull out what looks like a plastic grocery bag of potting soil.
Oh no, not the potting soil.
And they proceed to quietly, just painstakingly dump this soil onto a microscopic knee-high table to plant a sapling.
A table that nobody can see.
Right, a table that, by the way, nobody past row 2 even knows is there. So the momentum of the room completely evaporates, and you start hearing that frantic whispering from the guests. Like, wait, what are they doing? Can you see anything?
We have all been in that exact room. I mean, we really have.
It's painful.
It is. And if you are the one leading the ceremony, standing off to the side while that silence just, stretches on, it feels like an absolute eternity.
Oh, for sure. You can feel the energy just draining right out of the space.
Exactly. It's this vivid reminder that a poorly executed unity ritual, it doesn't just pause a ceremony, it completely fractures the guest experience.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to master a very specific, very critical piece of ceremony architecture, which is unity rituals that don't hijack the ceremony.
A very important topic.
Yeah, we're taking a hard look at how you keep these moments deeply meaningful without derailing the flow, the sight lines or the momentum of the day.
And we should point out these strategies, they aren't just theoretical ideas.
Definitely not.
No, they are built on the operational foundation of You Had Me at I Do, which is a company with over 25 years of hard-earned experience in the wedding business.
Right, and more than 400 completed weddings.
Yeah, and that kind of company history provides a really practical baseline, especially for you, the professionals who are out there managing these events weekend after weekend.
Which is a huge responsibility.
It is, and the overarching philosophy here is that unity rituals, they are never mandatory filler.
Right.
They are entirely optional elements of ceremony architecture.
Optional is the key word there.
Exactly. When a professional integrates them thoughtfully, they elevate the entire narrative. But I mean, before we even get to the mechanics of where to place a ritual in the timeline, we have to evaluate whether it has actually earned the right to be in the room.
Right. And that evaluation phase, I feel like that is where I see the most friction. Because there is this massive tension right now between aesthetics and substance.
Oh, absolutely. The Pinterest effect.
Yes. I look at it as the Pinterest tax. Couples spend months scrolling through these highly curated feeds, and they see a stunning golden hour photo of a couple pouring colored glass.
And it looks gorgeous.
It looks amazing. And they instantly think, we need to do that. But they are adopting the visual without actually considering the underlying architecture of their own ceremony.
Yeah, the visual appeal completely overrides the actual significance.
So what's the fix?
Well, as the professional guiding them, your rule of thumb for filtering these requests is to ask one defining question.
Okay.
You ask, what does this specific ritual say about this marriage that the spoken vows and the ring exchange do not already say?
That is a great filter.
Right. If the ritual cannot answer that question, it's just redundant.
Which means it has to carry its own narrative weight. Like if you sit down for a planning session and ask a couple what the sand pouring represents to them, and they give you a vague, respond.
Like, oh, the colors match our bridesmaid dresses.
Exactly. It matches the dresses and it looks nice. If they say that, you have a massive red flag.
Huge red flag.
But if they tell you, well, we are blending two very distinct families or, merging two different cultural backgrounds, and this is the physical representation of that integration.
Then you suddenly have a foundation to work with.
Right. That distinction changes everything.
It really does. A ritual must deepen the existing narrative of the ceremony. It shouldn't just serve as this disjointed intermission while guests try to figure out what's happening.
But wait, this often puts the wedding professional in a really difficult position.
Oh, for sure.
Because as a pro, your job isn't to kill joy, right? You aren't the fun police. So how do you push back when a couple brings you a genuinely terrible idea?
It's tough.
It is. It's like being an editor for a writer who just absolutely refuses to cut their favorite, totally unnecessary chapter. How do you guide them away without making them feel dismissed?
Well, the most effective strategy there is what we call the kind no. Or really, it's more of a redirect.
Okay, redirect.
Yeah, you never approach it as a flat rejection. You frame your advice entirely around protecting their vision and their guest experience.
Oh, I like that. Make it about protecting their day.
Exactly. So you might say something like, the heritage and meaning behind this ritual is incredibly beautiful, but because it involves so many moving parts, it might actually work much better as the centerpiece of your rehearsal dinner.
Oh, that's smart. Pushing it to the rehearsal.
Right. And you follow up with, that way your main ceremony remains powerfully focused on the vows you've written.
So you're telling them not here rather than just no.
Yes. And couples are highly receptive when you frame the restriction around protecting the flow of their day.
Because you're reminding them that you aren't anti-ritual. You are fiercely pro-ceremony.
Exactly. And setting those boundaries early is crucial. You want to cap it at 1, maybe 2 rituals. If there's a profound cultural necessity, that keeps the focus tight.
Because the moment you introduce a third ritual,
you lose the narrative thread entirely.
Yeah, it devolves into a variety show.
Nobody wants a variety show. And once a ritual has passed that initial test, once it has truly earned its place, the next major hurdle is placing it in the timeline.
Right, the sequence.
Yes. A meaningful ritual placed in the wrong spot creates massive psychological friction in the room.
I really want to dig into that psychological friction, actually. Because placement relative to the vows completely alters how the audience perceives the ritual. Let's break down those emotional dynamics.
Okay, so if you architect the timeline so that the unity ritual happens before the vows, you are establishing a foundation.
Got it.
The ritual acts as a sort of visual prologue. It represents the gravity of the promises they are about to make.
And what if it's after the vows?
Well, if you place it after the vows, but before the rings, it functions as a visible physical manifestation of the verbal commitment they just spoke.
So it bridges the gap between the words and the rings.
Precisely. And then placing it after the ring exchange functions as a capstone. It becomes this celebration seal on the entire process.
So there isn't one universal slot.
No, not at all. It depends entirely on the specific story that couple is trying to tell, but you have to be highly strategic about the energy in the room. Because there are 2 placements that are almost universally destructive to ceremony momentum.
The first one being the placement right after an intensely emotional vow exchange.
Oh, definitely.
Like when you have a couple who are just weeping and half the guests in the front rows are crying, you absolutely cannot transition immediately into a 4-minute silent sand pouring.
You can't do it. You have to let the room breathe.
Right.
If the emotional frequency is that high and the nerves are that raw, a long, silent physical action just feels oppressive to the audience.
They need a minute to recover.
Exactly. They need a moment of levity or maybe a musical transition to reset. And then the second destructive placement is putting a unity ritual after the pronouncement.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That feels like calling everyone back into the theater after the credits have started rolling.
That is exactly what it feels like.
Once you say, "I now pronounce you," the psychological contract of the ceremony is fulfilled. The guests have mentally shifted to the cocktail hour. You cannot drag them back into a quiet moment of reflection.
You lose the crowd instantly. You really do. And, speaking of losing the crowd, we have to address the whispering guest problem.
Yes.
Row 5.
Right. Because even with impeccable placement, if the guests don't understand what is happening, the ritual is a failure.
Which is where I see couples often making the mistake of over-explaining.
Oh, they over-explain so much.
They go online, they search for unity scripts, and they find these massive 4-page documents, and they are filled with, ancient Celtic wind metaphors and exhaustive histories of where glass comes from.
And highly disjointed instructions.
Exactly. And when an officiant reads those verbatim, it feels like changing the channel on a television set. It completely clashes with modern contemporary vows.
It does. And as the professional, you have to audit those internet scripts critically. You need to edit them aggressively.
Slow them down. Yes. You do not need a 5-minute origin story. What you actually need is the one-sentence guest explanation.
Just one sentence.
Just one. Guests should never have to guess what is happening, but they also don't need a lecture. You deliver one clear sentence that names the physical action and defines its meaning.
The source material actually provides a brilliant, very concise example of this.
Let's hear it.
It suggests saying something like, Alex and Jordan will now blend 2 vessels of sand into one, a symbol that their lives, like this sand, can no longer be separated.
That is perfect. That is literally all you need. You deliver that single sentence and then you just stop talking.
Let the silence do the work.
Exactly. Let the ritual breathe. Allow the guests to watch the couple's hands and, read the expressions on their faces. Because if you narrate the entire pouring process, you start to sound like a sports commentator calling a play-by-play.
Oh man, yeah. And they're going for the blue sand. It's a very clean pour today, folks.
Right. It completely ruins the gravity of the moment.
Yeah, it really does. And if there is a musical component, that requires aggressive editing too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A 90-second physical action does not require a 5-minute song.
Right, because then the DJ has to awkwardly fade it out while everyone just stands around waiting.
Yes. Coordination with your vendors is a huge part of the architecture. But, even if you have the perfect meaning, the perfect placement, and the perfect one-sentence script.
Let me guess, it can still fall apart.
Oh, yeah. The entire moment will still collapse if you do not respect the physical reality of the venue.
Which brings us right back to our opening scenario with the knee-high table.
Yes.
A unity ritual fails the moment the guests cannot see it. If you stage a beautiful ritual on a table that's hidden behind the couple's legs, it ceases to be a ceremony moment. It's just because this private, awkward activity.
Managing sightlines is a core responsibility. Before the event even begins, you need to physically walk the room.
Go sit in row 5.
Exactly. Go sit in row 5. Can you see the table? Will the photographer's position block the view? Will the wedding party obscure the action?
You have to check all of that.
You do. You must raise the vessels whenever possible. And crucially, you have to direct the couple to angle themselves at 45 degrees toward the guests.
Rather than standing squared off, just facing each other.
Right. Angling them outward invites the audience into the moment.
And we also have to talk about the officiant's physical placement, because the efficient photobomb is one of the most common, totally preventable mistakes in the industry.
Oh, it makes photographers crazy.
I bet. I've seen countless portfolios featuring this stunning emotional photo of a couple lighting a unity candle, and floating directly between their heads, just staring blankly into the lens, is the officiant.
It happens constantly, and it happens because officiants forget to manage their own mechanics. You cannot rely on your memory in the heat of a live event.
You really can't.
No, you have to physically build the staging cues right into your text. The source material is actually adamant about this.
It says to literally write it in bold caps.
Yes. Like, move to side during unity, hold pause for photo, return to center after.
That right there is the difference between an amateur and a seasoned professional. You script your movements.
Exactly.
And part of managing the physical reality of the space is preemptively managing the venue's rules and restrictions.
Oh, the rules. Props, permits, and policies are consistently overlooked until the day of the event.
Which is way too late.
Way too late. Open flame candles, they violate fire codes in a vast majority of indoor modern venues now.
And sand pouring often violates cleanup policies at historical outdoor sites.
Right. And wine sharing. That often violates alcohol ordinances on public park property.
So you cannot wait until the rehearsal to find this out.
Mm-hmm.
When you are reviewing the initial plans, you need to proactively interrogate the venue's restrictions.
Yes. You ask the coordinator, are open flames permitted? And if so, what is the specific enclosure requirement?
You bring a discreet fire-safe tray. You assign a specific person to clean up the spilled sand.
Because nothing derails a ceremony faster than a venue manager sprinting down the aisle with a fire extinguisher. All because the professional in the room failed to check the policy.
That is a nightmare scenario.
Oh, yeah.
So anticipating those logistical hurdles is vital. But, you also have to anticipate the elements you cannot control.
Mm.
Which brings us to the ultimate wild card in any ceremony.
Kids and pets.
Kids and pets. There is a massive blind spot here for couples.
Oh, huge.
They have this idyllic, Instagram-perfect vision of their 3-year-old nephew carefully carrying a fragile glass vessel of sand up the steps.
It looks great in their heads.
Right. But anyone who has worked a dozen weddings knows that scenario is a recipe for shattered glass, spilled sand, and a screaming toddler.
Exactly. You have to plan for predictable chaos. A drop jar isn't a failure, right? It is simply the reality of live events.
So your job is to mitigate the risk beforehand.
Yes. If you are outdoors or involving children, mandate the use of heavy plastic vessels instead of fragile glass. If a ritual involves a corked bottle, pre-open and loosen that stubborn cork before the prelude music even starts.
Just to be safe.
Always. And if a child is involved, you assign a dedicated, calm adult to stand directly beside them for the entire handoff.
Okay, but what happens when the drop or the spill occurs anyway? Because it will, right?
Mm-hmm.
The toddler decides the aisle is terrifying and drops the prop, or the wind blows the candle out 3 times in a row.
Right. When reality hits, well, your tone dictates the reaction of the entire room.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you panic or if you get flustered, the audience feels that anxiety. But if you remain calm, they immediately relax. You don't make a big dramatic fuss.
You just roll with it.
You roll with it. You offer a warm, grounding sentence, something like, "We'll keep going. This is real life and it's perfect."
Wow. This is real life and it's perfect.
Yeah.
That is a brilliant, diffusing phrase to keep in your back pocket.
It really works.
It acknowledges the imperfection without letting it ruin the momentum. But, to have the bandwidth to remain that calm, the physical movements of the ritual have to be entirely locked in beforehand.
Which is exactly why the rehearsal is so critical. And frankly, it is also where many professionals waste a lot of time.
How so?
Well, at the rehearsal, couples often want to read the entire poem, or they want you to recite the full script so everyone, gets the vibe.
Right. They want to perform it before the performance.
Exactly. But as the professional, you have to command that room and tell them, we are saving the poetry for tomorrow.
So the rehearsal is purely mechanical.
Purely mechanical. You are building muscle memory. You walk the movement. You ensure the table is placed correctly. You practice handing the specific props to the correct family members.
Nothing is left to chance.
Right. You have the couple practice the physical pour, or the tying of the knot, at a dramatically slow speed, just to ensure they understand the physical space they are taking up.
Because 90 seconds of slow-speed physical rehearsal on Friday evening prevents 3 minutes of panicked fumbling on Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely.
And this really highlights why the tool you use at the altar matters so much.
Oh, it's huge.
When you are managing that level of a cognitive load you're remembering to step aside, watching the wind, monitoring the toddler. You need your script to do the heavy lifting for you.
You really do.
So whether you rely on a meticulously formatted binder or you use a purpose-built digital tool like Wedding Studio by You Had Me at iDo.app, those physical cues must be visible.
They have to jump out at you.
Right. When your script explicitly tells you to step out of the frame, you don't have to think about it. You just execute.
Utilizing a tool that supports the mechanics of a live event, it's non-negotiable. And a core part of those mechanics is knowing exactly how to end the ritual.
Yes, the ending.
We focus so heavily on the setup and the staging, but closing cleanly is what preserves the momentum we've worked so hard to protect.
The stalling car effect. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
The couple finishes pouring the sand, the efficient smiles, and then there are just 5 to 10 seconds of pure dead air while everyone figures out if they should walk back to their marks or just keep standing there.
It feels incredibly jarring.
It's so awkward.
You prevent that by giving the ritual a definitive exit line. You need one declarative sentence that signals to the guests and the couple that the ritual is complete and the ceremony is immediately moving forward.
Give us an example.
Sure, something simple like, may this blended sand remind you that your lives are joined from this day forward.
And as soon as that line is delivered, you transition instantly into the next architectural block.
Instantly. You move directly to the rings or the vows with zero hesitation.
No dead air.
No dead air, and absolutely no apologies.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if the cork took a little too long to get out or the candle was stubborn, do not try to fill the silence with a self-deprecating joke or an apology for the delay.
Oh, I see people do that all the time. Well, folks, guess that cork is really in there.
Right. And unless a highly comedic tone is the established baseline for this specific couple, apologies just draw attention to the friction.
That makes a lot of sense.
You close the moment with authority and you move on. A well-placed, seamlessly closed ritual feels like a natural chapter progression, but a poorly closed one.
It feels like the ceremony broke down and you are trying to restart the engine.
Exactly.
And we want to avoid that broken down engine at all costs.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's distill all of this mechanical and psychological advice into one clear, actionable habit for the capable weekend wedding professional. What is the standard operating procedure they should adopt immediately?
It all comes down to how you prepare your text. Write your one-sentence guest explanation and your physical staging cues like step aside for photo or wait for couple to return to sender directly into your manuscript.
Don't trust your brain.
Exactly. Do not rely on your memory to manage live event logistics. Protect the flow of the ceremony by embedding the mechanics right into the words you are reading.
It is a simple, highly practical habit that takes the pressure off you when the stakes are high.
Absolutely.
But, before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought to mull over this weekend.
Oh, I love these.
We have spent this entire time analyzing how to flawlessly execute these physical rituals. But in an era where couples are bombarded by social media.
Constant pressure.
Right, where they feel this immense manufactured pressure to physically perform a unique, highly curated metaphor at the altar. What if the absolute boldest, most confident statement a modern couple can make is choosing to have no unity ritual at all?
Wow, that is a brilliant pivot.
What if the most powerful, grounding choice they can make is to let their spoken vow stand entirely on their own? Just the weight of their words, the gravity of the promises, and their absolute presence.
Stripping away the performance.
Exactly. No props, no wind metaphors, and certainly no bags of potting soil on a microscopic table.
Just the raw commitment to highlight the promise. I mean, that is a deeply powerful perspective to bring into your next client consultation.
It really is. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We know your time is incredibly valuable, and we have deep respect for the sheer operational hustle it takes to balance your career while leading these high-stakes weekend events.
Take these strategies, trust your professional judgment, and have a fantastic weekend out there.
Thanks for listening to Wedding Studio from You Had Me at I Do. For links, resources, episode notes, and anything Mike and Jen mentioned today, visit youhadmeatido.app/podcast. And while you're there, take a look at Studio by You Had Me at I Do, the software built to help wedding pros manage the couple, the wedding, and the business behind it all. Better weddings, better business, less chaos. We'll see you next time on Wedding Studio.